Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest in our series of UK-India Business Council webinars. This webinar, obviously looking at education and training in India, we will first have an overview of the skills development sector in India, with a particular focus on some of the use of new technologies which are being used, which potentially could build capacity and help individual providers address the skills development needs in India. We'll also take a closer look at some of the excellent work of local training providers before going on to assess some of the challenges in the market and, of course, some of the opportunities for international providers. Before we begin, I'd like to familiarise you with the toolbox on the right-hand side of your screens. Just to let you know, we'll have everyone on mute during the course of the webinar to keep any background noise to a minimum. But if you have a question, please drop it into the little bracket on the toolbox to your right in the please type your question here section to send me your question, and I'll take it up during our Q&A session at the end. For now, to make sure you can all hear me clearly, could I please ask that you all use your raise your hand button on the toolbar? Could you please click the raise your hand button? Okay, thank you very much for that. I'd now like to introduce our guest speaker, Mr. Bijay Sahu. Mr. Sahu is chairman of the Retail Association Skills Council of India, has been a very senior figure in the skills development space. So, Mr. Sahu, if I could move over to you for your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joshua. Good morning and good afternoon, those who are joining from India, to all of you. This is Bijay Sahu. It's a great privilege and a pleasure to be here with you all. And I wanted to cover the topic in regard to the Indian skill development scenario in terms of the general aspects and also sector-wise. The second is the disruptive technologies, like say, for example, some of them I have shown here, mobile internet, Internet of Things, 3D printing, advanced robotics. How are they impacting the jobs and skills in India? Who all are the leading training service providers from India? What are the current challenges in Indian education and training sector? The opportunities for international collaboration, the outcome areas, what are the specific areas where the collaboration can be done, and what are the key sectors we should do collaboration between UK training providers, whether in the content area or training, conducting the training program or the technologies, and what are all the levels of collaboration opportunities available. I also listed out the international MOUs signed by India in skill development with UK, etc. And what I think the critical success factors for the success of collaborative partnership between Indian training providers and international partners. Next. We can go to the slide. No. Please go to the, I just wanted to give some information, some data in regard to Indian skill development scenario. Those who are from India, they may be very familiar with this data. 62% of 1.3 billion Indians are in working age group, 15 to 59. So something like 800 million people. If you look at, this is much larger than the population of Europe. So the population of Europe is just 743 million people. And the population of UK, you know, is 65 million. So in comparison to that, the size of just the working age group people, I'm not saying necessarily all of them go to the work, but they are in the working age, are 62% of 1.3 billion people. 54% of Indians are below the age group of 25 years. The demographic is completely in the positive side of India. So going forward, that will give tremendous advantage to India over next 25-30 years. The current workforce size is 487 million. So that itself is many more times that of population of UK and many other European countries. Each year, over 26 million Indians enter working age population. 2.2 million or so every month and 26 million every year they enter the working age population. Out of them, nearly 1 million people seek jobs. So you can say 12 to 14 million people, they seek jobs. Other 12 to 14 million people, actually, they either give up seeking the job or start doing something on their own or get into the family business or remain unemployed. In India, large section of women and those who become housewives, they actually don't do any formal work. In the next 20 years, the global workforce is projected to shrink by 4%. Currently, if you look at the world workforce, it is something like 3.3 billion people, so that will reduce by 4%. And Indian workforce, which is currently 487 million, will expand by 32%. Only 4.6% of workforce in India have undergone currently a formal skill training. That provides tremendous opportunity actually to skill these young people that are available in India. As against India, if you look at UK has 68% of its people, workforce, formally trained in skills. In Germany, it is 75%, 52% in US, 80% in Japan, and the highest is South Korea, which is 96%. 110 million additional skilled manpower will be required across sectors in India by 2022. I believe I have shown it in the next slide. Can you move to the next slide? Yeah. In this slide, what I have tried to show, sector by sector, in the top 24 sectors of India, what are the incremental human resource requirement until 2022. So we need something like 109 million skilled people over next maybe 7 years. So we have limited time, so I'm not going to each specific item. Please go to the next slide. So here what I'm trying to say that these are the disruptive technologies which will create tremendous value impact in the world. So the estimate is, it's a very large range estimate that $15 to $30 trillion value will be created by these disruptive technologies per annum. And in India, it will create $550 billion to $1 trillion. What we are concerned with, what it will do for us, is actually certain jobs and certain way of doing things will change. Say, for example, automation of knowledge work. It is changing the way we do provide IT services. Internet of Things will change dramatically many of the plays in telecom and technologies industry. The advanced robotics, recently there was a study that automobile industry in India increasingly is getting automated because of advanced robotics. So there is an article like yesterday, day before, Machine versus Man, that Ford India has 453 robots as against 2,500 workers, and 90% of their activities in the plant is automated. So what is happening is, similarly Hyundai Motors, similarly Volkswagen, which is a European company here, So with automation, because of advanced robotics, so the jobs in the automobile plants, in the warehouses, like Amazon has warehouses which are completely automated. So those are creating actually tremendous impact on the way we do the jobs and the skills necessarily required going forward. Similarly, 3D printing is also changing the manufacturing industry in terms of design, etc. So also other technologies. I have given some concrete examples how it is changing in the next slide. Please go to the next slide, slide 9. So three things are happening. One is the displacement of existing skills. Second is alteration in existing skills. Third is emergence of completely new skills. So in displacement of existing skills, 3D printing is displacing actually jobs of machinists, including turners, millers, and drilling operators. Many of the manufacturing plants in India have started using 3D printing services. Like I told you, industrial robots are displacing jobs of warehouse operators such as loaders, unloaders, stackers. And I also gave the example of in automobile plants like in Ford India, etc., how the robots are replacing the man. The alteration in existing skills, for example, security specialists, in addition to their conventional skills of surveillance, intrusion handling, now have to learn to interpret IoT-based sensory data. You are seeing what happened yesterday in California. 14 people got killed. Some time ago in Paris and many other places. So our camera continues to record, but it needs more and more video analytics. It needs IoT-based sensory data to actually prevent the increasing terrorist activities in the world. Emergence of completely new skills, say for example, mobile application development or advanced genetic skills. I was discussing with an Indian genetics company, Map My Genome, the founder, the director, Anu Acharya. She told me actually in US 100,000 counselors are required for genetics. So when you give them the diagnostics based on the genetics, then the people need counseling. So different kind of skills are emerging. So she was telling if we can prepare people in India in advisory, in counseling skills in regard to genetics, maybe they will get employment outside India, like IT services are people operating in different parts of the world. Go to the next slide, please. Yeah, here there is an example. The car mechanic and car electrician, they were doing two different kind of job. Now people are getting trained in car mechatronic, which is a combination of mechanics work and electricians work. So this actually I saw the reflection of it when I was in Germany in their course curriculum, what they trained to in their vocational schools. So I think these kind of changes in our course curriculum here in India is also necessary. Please go to the next slide. Yeah, here you will see in the left hand side, in our Indian course curriculum, whether polytechnics, ITIs, and the diploma engineering schools, the reflection in the courses are of the technologies which were there at the time of establishment of the institution or courses, one-time establishment of the curricula. The technology change has not been reflected much, so there is obsolescence in the vocational education program. So when we are training, even if less number of people we train, they themselves are not technologically trained as per the the current technologies. So again, when they join a job, the employer, the new organization has to train them in the newer technologies. So that actually takes extra time and the cost. Whereas I saw actually in Germany when we were there in April, we had gone on a delegation. We found out with every technological change that affects the industry, the Germany academia, they have a process. They actually adopt that in the academia. The people develop the knowledge and skills in regard to that technology, and concurrently that gets applied in the industry. So when industry applies that, they have a supply of the talent and skills for those technology-based skills. Then the industry at the same time does the skill standards by the industry bodies. In Germany, the chambers of commerce, they decide the standards in regard to the skills. Like in India, we are trying to do sector skills councils, which are generally promoted by the industry associations. So they don't have sector skills council, but they have the industry association itself. They define different standards with government organizations. And then learning of skills by individuals. They learn because of the change in academic curriculum, and they give the exams and tests, and they get the certifications based on the standards set by the industry. So it becomes easy for them to get the job and hit the ground running when they get the job, as they're well prepared in regard to the skills in relation to the newer technologies. Please go to the next. So that actually is a necessity in India in terms of reflecting the newer technologies in the course curriculum. Some of the leading training providers in India, those I know of, some of them very closely, they actually want that whatever are the new technologies and related skills, they want to offer that. Our government is also thinking how to keep pace with the technologies and how to upgrade the skill standards by collaborating with the industry and industry associations. So these are the training providers like KEET School of Advanced Skills, Manipal City and Guilds. City and Guilds is a UK-based organization. So there is a JV between Manipal Global Education and City and Guilds UK. Pearson India, the subsidiary of Pearson PLC, generally they're an education company, but they have in India been playing a role in terms of defining the course content for various sector skills councils. Team Leads University, NIIT, Centum Learning, Ireland FS Education, Future Learning, Kohinoor Technical Institute, Career Launcher. These are the significant ones. Those who actually provide the either skills in one or the other area, and these could be probably if somebody from UK, those who have something to offer to the training service providers here in India, they can actually talk to any of these training service providers in India for collaboration. Other than them, there are many others, but I just took the top 10 to make an illustration. Please go to the next slide. What are the current challenges in Indian education and training sector? Public policy push for skill development is quite recent. So only in 2010, we had the first national policy on skill development. And the new policy was released, the revised policy, when the current government came to power sometime in 2015. The new policy was released. As against that, if you look at in UK, Australia, Singapore, and Germany, the policies in regard to skills development, vocational education, also in South Korea, is pretty strong and has a history. The developed countries such as Germany and UK, where institutions in the skill development ecosystem are very matured over a long period. Indian institutions are new and in their early stage of development. So in this situation, there is an opportunity to learn from the experience of UK skills ecosystem. The other aspect is it's a very large scale requirement. Like I told you earlier, India's population is, 1.3 billion people, and most of these people are young. There is very little in regard to skills development and vocational skills happening in India. So there is a tremendous opportunity for the players in UK skills development ecosystem or anywhere else in the world to come and actually benefit India and benefit themselves commercially as well as socially. One is the large scale requirement. The second is expectations of rapid results. Because our people are young, if they remain unemployed, they become very restless. And this situation of our people being young and the demographic dividend in our favor will remain only up to 2035 and 2040. During this period, this window, this short demographic window, India as a nation needs to transform itself into a developed economy. And to transform into a developed economy, the skills, the education, the talent, and technologies have to keep pace with it. There is massive inadequacy of the required infrastructure, faculty, state-of-the-art curricula, and content. So in all these areas, there could be opportunity for collaboration. Lack of integral connect with the formal school and college system. I saw in Germany they have dual education system where the people are trained in education as also in skills. While they learn in an engineering school, they also go to work for somebody 2 to 3 days in a week. So we need actually an integrated school and college system which has in its syllabus some aspects of skills development and job-oriented preparedness for the students. Please go to the next slide. The international collaboration opportunities and outcome areas I have listed out here. Introduction of new vocational programs to leverage global employment opportunities. Comprehensive and state-of-the-art training curricula is required as per the international standards. Innovative learning content with learner-centric instructional design. I saw in UK and Germany very advanced. Technology and learning platforms such as massive online open courses. What is happening in edX and Coursera in the education space. Similarly, there could be platforms for the skills development and deployment space. Faculty training is critically important, and assessment standards, processes, and technologies also equally important. So these are the possible areas for international collaboration opportunities between UK and India. Please go to the next slide. I have listed here sectors. UK is very strong in the service industry, especially banking, financial services, insurance, and retail. So I thought like these are the possible sectors where UK skills ecosystem players can actually collaborate with Indian skills ecosystem training providers. Banking, financial services, insurance, retail, healthcare, pharma, and biotechnology, education, media and publishing, transportation, tourism. Tourism is very strong in UK and it's a need in India, and sports. So I believe these are the sectors where UK collaboration with India will do good to India. Next. The collaboration opportunities are at different levels. There could be intergovernmental level, inter-industry level, inter-institutional level, inter-organizational level, and also Indian level, so individual level. So there could be subject matter experts, those who can actually provide the skills to the trainer students from UK. So these are very distinct ones. We have limited time. I'm not going into the details. Please go to the next slide. I have here given an illustration where all the MOUs have been signed generally at intergovernmental level, between India and UK. So there is UK-India Education and Research Initiative between MST, signed by Ministry of Skills Development and Entrepreneurship, government level, Association of Colleges, UK, NSTC, Department of Business Innovation and Skills on behalf of the government and the devolved administration of UK. It was signed with the DGT, Director of General and Training, which was under Ministry of Labour. Then UKCES, UK Commission on Employment and Skills with NSTC. So these are actually the current MOUs signed, as an illustration. Go to the next page. The critical success factors to make international collaborations work. The players, those who are operating in UK, they operate with very high standard. We'll expect in India they should maintain that high standard in process rigor and the assessment and standards. They should bring the innovative changes as they do in UK to our domestic training offerings to Indian market. They should customize the curricula and content based on the need of the Indian market, the Indian, whichever sector they want to work with, that sector, the technology situation, the infrastructure situation, the customer situation, and the skills needs. They should stay at it until the scale is developed, and they should not be restless that they are not making enough money as they start here in India. So their investment will give return, but they have to be patient. They should maintain a clear and transparent governance structure for the collaborative ventures with Indian partners for a win-win value proposition. So I thought these are all the critical success factors. Please go to the next. Yeah, so I said I think I took all of the time of 29 minutes to speak. I should have given more time for questions, but now actually is the time for questions. So let noble thoughts come to us from every side. So this is actually the first shloka of Rig Veda, the Indian spiritual epics. There is the Rig Veda, if you have heard. So that is the first shloka of that Veda. So now over to all of you for questions, if any. I'll love to interact.
So this is the stage in the webinar where we will invite questions for Mr. Sahu from participants.
Yes.
We've got Mr. Sahu, one quite direct question here from Vimal Subramanian. Are there direct opportunities for Scottish universities to partner with the Retail Sector Skills Council? There we go. That's quite a direct question for you there, Mr. Sahu.
I can give a direct answer saying yes, there are opportunities. We should discuss the details. So we certainly need support in terms of the course curriculum for the specialized retail programs. So for example, what we have done in the Retail Skills Council so far is more general for the grocery kind of retail. When you go to specialized retails like, say, for example, electronics, high-end apparel, luxury goods, we need to define the NSQF and the course curriculum, the course content, and also the faculty support, the standards, the test standards, all of that. And we need actually, that is clearly a collaboration opportunity there.
Very good. Very good. Any other questions from the group? This is a very interesting question from Peter Klein. Do you have any sense, Mr. Sahu, of the size of the market for training on generic skills such as management, sales and marketing? So I think in that area we're looking at possibly executive level training.
The Indian market is very large and fastest growing. sales and marketing, whether for product companies or service companies, is one of the critical areas for success. So, and clearly I can see there is an opportunity, like the way sales and marketing trend internationally, especially in UK, is very structured, very systematic, very practical, and very aligned to the business strategy and the customer's requirement. I believe the size of the market is very large. Today also the service sector in India is the largest and is growing fastest. So I will encourage and say I'll not put a number to it. If you give me time, I can put a number to it. But other than that, it's a very, very large market.
Very good, thank you. There's a question from David Cortaza. David, you ask how you can directly reach sector skills councils in India instead of going through government bodies. If you drop me a line at the UK India Business Council, I will be able to certainly help with that query. I've got another question, Mr. Sahu. You had a slide that outlined different levels of collaboration, so intergovernmental, inter-industry, inter-institutional, inter-organizational, and finally a B2C offer. Could you give us a sense of sort of very briefly the sort of pros and cons you think of each of those approaches for UK organisations seeking to enter the market?
Thank you. Actually, I didn't spend too much time thinking that I should finish my discussion in, before time, that the time you had given to me. In terms of intergovernmental level, I have seen and been part of some of the delegations. At the government level, there are MOUs being signed and very good intention. But when it starts translating to experience, it is taking longer time. As against inter-industry, the experience has been better. So when in retail, we have a Retail Skills Council, the equivalent of that in UK, there was also a Retail Skill Council in a different name. So when we were starting in 2011-12, we actually discussed with them. Australia Skills Council also we discussed with them. There is a service council in Australia which includes retail, and it was of immense help. They supported us with the course curriculum, the architecture of their programs, the content, and the process, and the faculty training. So I believe that is that experience was better at the inter-industry level. Inter-institutional level, it is at the academic institution level, like you asked an example of a university trying to do something, maybe a university doing with another university. Suppose, I saw UK has started giving training in mechatronics, but Indian universities, except one I know of, others have not started mechatronics as a program, either in diploma engineering or in degree engineering. So if two institutions want to come together and say, like, look, we want to design and help you to deliver these newer courses based on the new technologies, I think that will be very good, and there will be practical experience and benefit to Indian institutions. Inter-organizational level, like say for example, we are in oil and gas or refinery. What we do whenever we enter into, say for example, oil and gas exploration we are doing, we have a joint venture with British Petroleum. So we have a lot of exchange of executives and the training process, the content, the methodologies, the technologies, and we learn from each other. So that's an example of inter-organizational level, and it's direct and it's very beneficial. The individual level, there could be an expert in UK, or even sometimes there could be an expert in India, say mathematics teacher. he wants to train in mathematical skills, or some UK teacher wants to train in musical instruments. So they can actually reach out to people in either of these two countries and start training them. It needs a technology platform, and it needs connecting who needs skills and who has skills to impart. So that's the way I actually put it in those levels, saying intergovernmental, inter-industry, inter-institutional, inter-organizational, and individual. Does it make sense?
Very much so, Mr. Sahu. That very much. That's a excellent analysis. Okay, I think we'll wrap up there. Thank you all very much for your time, and I hope this webinar was valuable to you. If you have any feedback or comments about today's session, or a session that you'd like to see us do in the future, please do feel free to get in touch with us. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Joshua. Thank you. Thanks to all the organizers and all the people who joined this seminar. Ladies and gentlemen.
Very much, Mr. Sahu. Thanks very much.
Thanks.